Hi everyone, it's me, Corey, the face of Koa. I just did a live outside and I was just listening to it and realized it kept cutting out and it's so windy outside that you could barely hear me. So I decided to come on again because I felt it was really important what I was talking about. And I know that I've heard from many of you that it's great doing lives outside, but at the same time, if you can't hear me, that's not very helpful. So here's me trying this again. I'd really like to talk to you about so a few things. So one is the window of tolerance and the other one is the 3 emotional regulation systems, which are developed by Gilbert, the creator of compassion-focused therapy. So I've been working with compassion actively for quite some time, and I did the compassionate mind training for 2 years. So I am qualified and trained to offer an 8-week compassionate mind training and also use those practices and resources. I also did some training in compassion-focused therapy as well as part of that. And I remember over those 2 years really growing as a person and really reflecting on how I navigate compassion and how I work actively with compassion and how I can use it in my practice, working with individuals and groups. And I now really bring it into everything that I do because I think it's so powerful and such an important aspect of working with the soma, the body and the nervous system, and finding more soothe, more calm, more balance. Now, 2 things. One, if you're new to the window of tolerance, first of all, go and Google it, check it out. It was created by Siegel many, many moons ago. It's a wonderful model that helps us understand our levels of tolerance or our levels of arousal, our arousal states. It talks about hyperarousal, it talks about the window of tolerance itself, and it talks about hypoarousal. And these are all linked to the different states of threat in the nervous system. So we're talking about fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I don't want to go too much into the window of tolerance, but it is something that I use as the basis of all my work. And I actually think it flows really nicely with... I think it flows really nicely and it links up nicely with the 3 emotional regulation systems. So there we go. What you maybe need to know about the window of tolerance is very much like the 3 emotional regulation systems. And I'm going to tell you all about that in a moment. We move through these different states of arousal. So I like to go red, green and blue. So if we're in the hyperarousal state, that is a place where we're in the fight or flight threat system. It's a place where we can feel anxiety, anger, frustration, overwhelm. It's those moments when your heart beats super fast, or you get really sweaty palms, or your jaw gets tense, and much, much more. We have a lot of somatics, so bodily symptoms in those moments. It's a really unpleasant place to be, and we're often very dysregulated and can be quite reactive if we're not feeling grounded or balanced within ourselves. Then if we go all the way down to the bottom of the window of tolerance, so we have red, green and blue. If you go down to the blue, it's hypoarousal. Now, this state is where we freeze, we shut down, we feel overwhelmed, maybe can't get out of bed. Depression is one of the kind of things that can come up in that hypoarousal state. When we think of freeze, the body literally just kind of freezes up. It's a state of survival. It's just shutting down completely because it's overwhelmed and again, dysregulated. Again, not a pleasant place to be. And then we have the green in the middle, which is our lovely window of tolerance where we feel grounded and soothed and balanced and have mindful moments, all these things. And we move between all 3. So we may be a little bit out of our window. We talk about being a little bit out of our window, so a bit out of the green, maybe going into the red. So something happens that dysregulates us and we feel a bit kind of overwhelmed. Maybe our heart starts beating a little bit faster and we're feeling a bit dysregulated, but we're able to come back into our window, maybe with breath work, maybe some movement, maybe just acknowledging that we're having a tough time. And then the bottom bit as well, maybe we fall into the hypo and feel like we've not slept well, we're not feeling well, we're feeling heavy in our cells, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling quite shut down, but we notice it, we catch it, and we go back into our window where we feel grounded and balanced and soothed. So the idea is we work with the nervous system. It's the essence of everything I do. We want us to have a balance between all 3 so that we have moments where we're feeling a bit hypo, a bit low, a bit shut down, or we have moments where we're feeling a bit hyper, a bit anxious, overwhelmed. But they're just on the edges of our window so we can keep coming back. We want to widen our window. We talk about widening our window so that in those moments of dysregulation, we have the resources and practices to come back into that window and keep moving between those states. Now, when it comes to trauma, we know that our window can be super small, and we can really struggle, and we can get really stuck in these states of blue hypo and red hyperarousal. It's really not fun. It's really not great. But luckily, there is resources out there to keep widening our window and coming back into that green. Now, if we think about the three emotional regulation systems created by Paul Gilbert, part of compassion-focused therapy, he talks about growing the green. And this is where I feel there's quite a nice link with the window of tolerance. So similarly, we have green, blue, and red, but they're slightly different in what they mean. So we have three systems. There are three circles, really, three zones, three systems. Everyone kind of says what they, or has different names for them in the sense of what they work with. Some like to use just the colors. Some like to think of the circles or the zones or the systems. But basically, we have the soothe system. This soothe system is where we feel grounded, balanced, settled within ourselves. It's where, again, we have those mindful moments. It has a lot of similarities to that window of tolerance, that green bit. It's where we feel safety within ourselves. We're not dysregulated. It's a really peaceful place to be. We then have the threat system, which is red. And the threat system, when it's balanced, it's great. It helps us be aware of general threats around us, crossing the road, having difficult conversations, feeling a little bit dysregulated and managing that. Understanding our threats is really helpful and healthy. We often think about threat as a negative thing. It's really important that we can be aware of our threats around us and keep ourselves safe. It's about survival, okay? And then we have the blue, which is the drive system. It's why we get up in the morning. It's why we set goals. It's why we go to the gym or eat healthy or do things that give us a purpose in life. Again, really an important part of life. And just like that window of tolerance, we need to find balance between all three systems. We move through all three fluidly. So in balance, it's great, right? We set goals, we do things that feel purposeful for us. We're aware of threats around us, so we're careful when we're crossing the road, or we know there's a difficult meeting coming up and we prepare for that. We have an awareness. We're in the soothe, we maybe go to yoga or meet with friends or do mindfulness or just generally dance, enjoy life, feel more grounded, feel more settled. It's great when we have the balance. But when they're out of balance, the threat can be overwhelming. That red threat system is also where trauma again fits in. It's where we can feel so overwhelmed, so anxious, so tense and dysregulated that the world doesn't feel safe, that we think things around us are dangerous, that relationships feel overwhelming, communication doesn't flow, we don't feel balanced, all these things. Same with the drive, that blue. We overwork, we do too much exercise, we overeat, we are out of balance, or we're just so shut down that we are not even able to set any goals. There's got to be a balance within that. And the green's the same. We can't walk around this earth not being aware of threats around us. That's not healthy, it's not helpful. So we need all three. And Paul Gilbert talks about growing the green. So he's talking about growing that green, the soothe system, just like we want to widen our window, right? So it's the same idea. Okay, lots of information. I definitely advise you to go and look into it. I'll share info when I share this post for you to go and do your own research. But both these models really flow into my work, whether it's the three emotional regulation systems or the window of tolerance, basically. But I wanted to come on really to talk to you, one, to give you a little bit of an insight into my knowledge there and share with you what I think and my view on these two models and my interpretation of them, but also to talk about something that happened that was really wonderful in the last 2 weeks. So whenever I learn something new, I like to make it my own a little bit, obviously staying true to the principles of that theory or that model. It's really important. but to make it my own and to approach it in a really creative and integrative way. It's kind of what I do, right? My integrative approach. And so I decided to use this idea of the 3 emotional regulation systems and turn them into a meditation, a somatic meditation, so that we can feel it in the body. And basically what I did was about 10 to 15 minutes. I started off by obviously explaining what they were and why we're doing the practice, because knowledge is power and theory is important. We don't just do things for the sake of it. And then I invited people to settle in so they could lie down or be seated. And I went through first the 3 emotional regulation systems when they're out of balance. So that blue, that drive, being overworking, burnt out, doing too much, constantly overachieving, setting too many goals, eating too much, all these things. Same with threat, not feeling safe, feeling dysregulated, not trusting ourselves, just not feeling safe. It comes down to not feeling safe. And then the green, not acknowledging any threats, not setting any goals, just kind of plodding through life with rose-tinted glasses. And then I invited everyone to take a moment to just tap into their bodies and notice when I describe these individual emotional regulation systems, where do they come up for you? Where do you feel them in your body? What do you notice? Is there a color coming up, a word, a thought, a sensation? Can you connect with that space with your hand? What comes up? And how can you approach that space in a more compassionate way? Perhaps I'm doing my best, or of course I feel this way, I've experienced trauma, or this feels really heavy right now, but that's okay, I'm really human. So really working with it with compassion. And then we pivoted from that to balanced emotional regulation systems. Where do you feel those? Where do you feel it when you are setting goals and feeling empowered and feeling strong within yourself? Feel like you have a purpose, feel like things are going well. Where do you feel that? Where do you feel it when your threat system's in a healthy place, and you're just aware of things around you? You're not dysregulated, you're not overwhelmed, you're just aware and you're keeping yourself safe in this world. And what about that green? What does it feel like when you feel grounded, anchored, soothed, calm? Where do you feel it? What's coming up? And then eventually I brought them back into the room. I just found it really exciting to interpret this model in my own way. And I got some wonderful feedback of, and I've done it a few times now, wonderful feedback of, I'd never thought about how I felt if something felt heavy or light, or I'd never thought about where my drive system was in my body and what that means for me, or where I actually feel that threat, but in a healthy way. Or I'd never really tapped into my body in that way and really listened and learned something. So there we go. So I just wanted to share that with you, that if you're going to come to one of my sessions, it's very likely these models will come up, the window of tolerance or the 3 emotional regulation systems. We know that if we have more balance in both of them, if our nervous system feels safer and more grounded and more balanced and more still, then we're more able to challenge that inner critic, those difficult thoughts. We're more able to be compassionate to ourselves and remember we are doing our best and that's enough, which means our soma, our body, feels more settled and calm and safe. And we're able to make healthier decisions, feel more embodied, feel more self-aware, be aware of healthy threats, be aware of what works for us and what doesn't, what takes energy and gives us energy. So this compassionate work is really important. We throw the word compassion around so much, but actually it's the essence of a balanced nervous system. And remembering that we are only human, and there's so many of us in this world, and we're all aligned. We all have worries, we all have fears. We're only human. We're doing our best. So yeah, I would love to see some of you at some of my workshops. I'm bringing these models into my Surrender series, of course, currently running. I've just had my first Find Your Voice workshop, which was beautiful. That was a couple of weeks ago. I've got my Reclaiming the Body workshop coming up on the 31st of January. That's 3 hours where we're going to explore some of the work of Ariel Schwartz and Peter Levine. Again, if you're new to these names, have a look, check it out. And then my next Find Your Voice workshop, I think, is on the 5th of February. I've still got a few spaces left. I've only got like 3 or 4 spaces left, but that is also going to be looking about how do we work with the felt sense and going inwards when we work with the voice. And this is very much linked to Peter Levine's work. He is the creator of somatic experiencing. I absolutely adore his practices. And again, I generally interpret them in my own little way while staying true to his work, of course. So yeah, if you haven't booked in, get booking. If you'd like to hear more about these theories and models, again, join one of my workshops. I always like to offer a theory base for the work that we do. And you always get follow-up resources and practices. I do think knowledge is power, and I want people to almost feel like they've gone through a little course, which is experiential and theoretical. I focus much more on the experiential side of things, but you'll always get the knowledge behind it. I think that's so important. I often have been to events where I don't really understand why I've done this. I need to go away and Google it myself. And I like to offer the knowledge base, the theory base. So there we go. I hope this time I didn't cut out. I hope this time it was clear. If anyone's watching, I'd love to hear from you if I was cutting out or if it was all fluid. I really hope so. I really try and offer as much insight as I can in these posts and share my thoughts. I like to do them live because then it's just natural and authentic and it just flows. It doesn't feel pre-recorded. For me, it takes the pressure off because I feel like I'm just talking to a room of people. So yeah. Okay, that was lots of information. What I'll do is at some point I'll come on and share that live practice with you as well, because I know a few of you would like that, and I've heard that from others. So I will share a practice with you. And I guess I want to leave you with a question. If you're new to the Wind of Tolerance and if you're new to the 3 emotional regulation systems, go and check them out and then ask yourself the question, when it comes to the window of tolerance, what can I do to widen my window? What can I do to widen my window so that I can tolerate more, literally? So that I can feel more resilient, a healthy resilience, not kind of toxic positivity and all that. I'm all against that. And when it comes to the 3 emotional regulation systems, which one for you is the dominant one? Sometimes you might even want to draw 3 circles. Have a look online for the model and 3 circles. Which one is more dominant? Is it taking energy or is it giving me energy? And if it's taking my energy, how can I grow my green, grow that soothe, not make it so that it's overwhelming, but it's the biggest one. Again, like that wind of tolerance, so that I can feel more resilient, tolerate more, feel more in balance, feel more grounded, cultivate more safety in my body. And then maybe the last question, how are you practicing self-compassion? It can be very difficult. How are you practicing self-compassion? If it's a real challenge for you, know that you're human and that's normal. But how can you maybe work on that? How can you work on that? Okay, I'm going to leave you all. Thank you for those of you that have joined me live. Really appreciate it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please do share some comments once I've posted this. It's always great to hear from you and to know if this is helpful or not, or worthwhile or not, or if you'd rather just... I don't know, I share reels with pictures rather than talk to you. Okay, wishing you all a beautiful morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Please take care. And maybe this will give you a moment to pause for thought, to reflect, to notice, to learn. Okay. I'm going to go. If you don't know me, my name is Corey. I am the face of Coa, my brand, and Coa Unplugged, the podcast. That's all I'm going to share. Take care, everyone.